welcome to the Creative Constitution podcast. Today I'm joined by Saara Lamberg, who's an amazing filmmaker from Finland and Australia, and we are going to be talking about film distribution and attending film markets. Hello, Saara.
Hi. It's so exciting to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you on the podcast. I'm very excited. And this is a topic that I actually need to learn a lot more about. So I'm so glad we're doing this one. So first of all, tell me a little bit about yourself and your filmmaking journey so far.
Sure. So I grew up in Finland and I studied a little bit of film and television production back in Finland. And then I went to UK as an exchange student to study theatre and choreographic practices. And moved to Australia about 13 years ago and started making short films to start with, made about 5 or 6 short films, and then launched into my first feature film, which was released in 2017. That's called Innuendo. And since then, I've had a couple of other features premiere.
Yeah, amazing. And your first film did really well, won a bunch of awards as well. So what was that like? When your first one out of the gates actually does a pretty damn good job. What was that feeling?
I mean, just being able to make it felt amazing. And I think when I launched into writing it, I didn't necessarily think that I was going to be the one making it. I thought that I was writing it for myself as an actor, but I would find someone much more experienced director and producer to make it. That was what was going through in my head. And the screenplay won an award in Beverly Hills Screenplay Contest. And based on that, some doors opened in terms of getting meetings with producers and directors. But very quickly it became evident that that was going to take years before anyone else was going to take it on board and potentially produce it. And there was no guarantees that it would ever happen. And a couple of very established directors actually just encouraged me to direct it myself, given that I had already directed some short films. And they said, just think of it as an extended short film and do it that way.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I did. And then, for that film to be seen by audiences and to receive distribution, to have some awards in festivals. I mean, it's all very validating in a way that I definitely need to be validated.
Yeah.
I don't make films for myself. I know there are artists out there that think that it doesn't matter what people think about their work. I'm definitely not one of them. I definitely care. Any kind of an award or selection even to a festival just confirms that I'm doing a good enough job for other people to enjoy my work, and that means everything.
Yeah, for sure. And what made you kind of do the 5 films first instead of kind of doing 1 short film or 2 short films and then going into a feature? Did you feel like you needed to do 5?
I think it's just important to keep making films. And I don't know many people that would have launched directly into making a feature film. I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm sure it can be done, but I think it's still important to train in short films. They're almost like a training ground where you learn just how to better communicate with cast and crew, learn about all the practicalities and logistics, and just really fine-tune your craft as the filmmaker as well. And I think that's why short films are so important before you then launch into your first feature.
Definitely. And with the first few films that you made, were they always intended for festivals or were they assignments? What was sort of kind of the type of short film that you were making when you started?
Yeah. So, of course, some of them would have been uni assignments, yes. But then when I started making films after I had graduated, I guess I just wanted to tell stories. And because I was an actor before I was a filmmaker, I became just hungrier and hungrier and hungrier of telling different stories and telling more challenging stories and being able to play the roles that I knew that I would be able to play. But because there are heaps and heaps and heaps of actors out there, it's very difficult to get them. And also I was noticing that there were definitely more these kind of motherly type or girlfriend type roles for my gender that I've been born into biologically.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's not satisfying enough. That was just, for me, that's not what women are. For me, we are all of us humans are so multi-layered that it's very boring to see just one type of a character in a film.
Yeah.
So I think that was a really big and important thing for me in terms of starting to create my own material. Whether I guess I had film festivals in mind, because that's generally the first sort of point of contact with your audience. And yeah, I think all of my short films have been on festivals and some of them have received prizes again. The validation that I need.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, when you started out, did you act in the first film that you directed? Or did you maybe build into the confidence as you started directing more and more films?
No, so acting for me came naturally. Acting for me is something I've been doing since I was 7 years old.
Nice.
And that for me is the fun part. That for me is the easy part. And even really challenging roles, like challenging mental health roles where, you know, you have to go to really dark places. I really enjoy it. And so that for me wasn't difficult. I guess the difficulty then was about being able to do that at the same time as wearing my director's hat and my producer's hat. I think like the director and actor, that's very similar. They're both artistic roles in the production. And director has got a little bit to do with timekeeping and the logistics, but producer definitely has got everything to do with all the logistical stuff of the film production. And yeah, it is a bit of a challenge to be able to do the three things at the same time, because many times I'm on film set and I am the producer, I am the director, and I'm the actor as well. But somehow, for my personality, it really works. And for me, it's almost like more organic, because I feel like I'm not necessarily very good at explaining to other people what I'm going to do before I do it.
You just do it. You just get it done.
Yeah. So when I'm the director, producer, and actor, I don't have to explain myself, and I don't have to justify my choices in the same way that I might have to if those were three different roles. So it's like a more organic process for someone like myself who feels like I struggle to explain my vision. I enjoy making it, but explaining it beforehand, that's difficult.
Yeah, I totally relate to that. I actually think it's very easy sometimes to just be the one role, because then you can niche down and you can focus on that. But I've had similar experiences where if I just do every role, then you'd have a lot less kind of explaining to do, and you can get better outcomes sometimes out of that process.
Yeah, and given that I mainly work with scripts that I've written myself, I already know the whole process inside out by the time that we come to the set. So it just becomes this organic machine that just operates for myself quite easily. And look, I love working with other people, and 200 people helped me make my first feature film. It's not like I operate alone. And what I often hear from people in their own roles, that I also give them a lot of freedom within their own role in the production, and they can bring their artistic input in. And in the same way as I trust myself to do my job, I also trust my people to do their jobs. And what I hear back from people is that they really enjoyed that way of working, and they also feel like it's like I carry the responsibility of the overall film, but they carry their own responsibility of their own area in that film.
I like that. I think, and I think there's a whole saying of like less cooks in the kitchen is sometimes a better thing. And I think that's what came to mind when you were kind of explaining that, where the crew know who to go to, and there's kind of one funnel instead of multiple funnels. And then you might have a producer not wanting to talk to a director about an idea or whatever. So I think it is sometimes more streamlined. Now, with the distribution side of things, sometimes filmmakers like to outsource that to someone else. So how do you go about that? Do you do everything? Do you go on Film Freeway and do all the submissions yourself? What's sort of your process?
Quite a lot of it still is me doing it. Now with the feature films, I did also start attending film markets, and I found myself an agent based in America, and they are also helping me with the distribution side of things, because again, that's something I'm slowly learning step by step. But it's again, it's a completely different craft to actually making the film. And going to film festivals is one thing, but then going to a film market again is a completely different world and completely different skill sets. And I've been to quite a few now, I'd say about 5 film markets, and I still feel like I'm just starting to learn how it all works and how it all operates. So yeah, to have mentors and assistants in that journey has been valuable and necessary, very necessary. And look, I've been put it past me that I might self-distribute more in the future, particularly because it does seem to be very, very, very challenging for indie films. And having released first feature film Innuendo, I was hoping that it would be easier to release Westmark Effect and the third film, The Lies We Tell Ourselves. But it hasn't necessarily worked out that way. It's still just as challenging as it was.
Wow.
And perhaps in these few years that have passed since Innuendo, the distribution itself has changed so much. I guess that's what I also love about film, although it makes it very challenging, is that the whole area of filmmaking and the art itself and the distributing of it changes all the time. And so I constantly just have to, I'm constantly on my toes, and I constantly don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just trying to do my best and trying to get some results that way.
That's amazing. I think a lot of filmmakers think that they'll create their first feature, and if it does well, the rest of their career will almost be like, paved, and there'll be like a golden bridge that they can cross. And then every single film after that gets into Netflix and whatever. But
I was definitely that filmmaker too. I also thought that would happen.
Yeah, I think we all kind of dream of being like the Talk to Me guys, or like one film in Sundance, and then all of a sudden it's just like all of the dominoes just like boop, boop, boop. But it's not always like that. So what was it like when you first went to a film market? I mean, what is a film market for someone that has no idea what it is? And what was it like?
It's a very scary experience because there are so many people, and I think almost 95% of those people feel like they shouldn't be there.
Oh my gosh.
Everyone's got this well, not everyone, but a lot of us feel like they're a little bit out of their league. I know I definitely do every time I go. And so many people actually in film are introverts, whereas in a film market, I just have to pretend to be an extrovert, or I have to push myself constantly into these extroverted places where it's very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable. And then I just go back to just thinking about the values of why do I do this work? Why is it important? And just trying to get through that uncomfortable feeling, just remembering those values.
Yeah.
And basically film market is... It often happens at the same time as the film festival. So, for example, the biggest one in the world is the one happening in France in May, which happens at the same time as the Cannes Film Festival. So there's also the Cannes Film Market. But there's others, such as American Film Market, which is usually in November. That doesn't really have a festival component attached to it at all. So it's just mainly about the business of filmmaking. And so these two markets are quite different. So Cannes has got this sense of celebration of the film and lots of screenings and, the red carpets and and all that. Whereas American film market is offices in a hotel, and you walk around this hotel, and you can go into different film offices, and it's like it's just more business oriented, I guess, and a bit more. I don't want to say official necessarily, because it does, for me, when I've been there, I've only been to American film market one time, but I felt like it was friendly. It didn't, as I said in the beginning, yes, it's scary, but it definitely wasn't unfriendly. Anyone I spoke with was quite happy to speak with me. I didn't feel like there were too many massive egos about.
Oh, that's good.
I don't know. Maybe I was just naive, and maybe that helped. I'm not sure.
What was it like when you went into those rooms? Let's just say the American one first, and then we'll go to the glitz and glamour of Cannes after that. But with the American ones, I have heard stories where kind of you go in and you have your pitch documents and so forth. What did you kind of bring to the table, and what got the best response from the people that you might have been talking to at the time?
So I went to my first film market in America when I had already completed Innuendo. So I guess that's the thing that helped me, is that I knew I had something. I had a film.
You had something to sell.
Yeah, but then of course you get to the film market and you realize
everybody
there's thousands of people like you that have a film. Making that film was so difficult. And then you realize there are so many other people also that went through all that. And all of a sudden you realize what a small component of a very big machine you are.
Wow.
But still, having that film, I think, for myself meant that I had a platform. That was what I was there to do. And as daunting as the experience of going to a film market was, I still had that. And what I had done before I attended the film market was already start emailing some of the sales agencies that would be present there. And actually, one of the sales agents had come back to me before the market even started with an offer that they would like to represent my film.
Oh, wow, nice.
And I guess that for me gave that little bit of comfort again that, if I don't find anyone here, I already have one. Someone's already interested.
That's amazing. That's a great position to be in, because then you can be ballsier as well. I think as a result, you probably were way more confident when you arrived, and you were like, I already have something in the bag, so now let's just see if we can double the bag or triple the bag.
Exactly. Yeah. So thank you, that sales agent that did send me that email all those years ago.
Wow.
And then I ended up seeing lots and lots of different sales agencies, probably a couple of distributors as well, and I think Innuendo had 4 offers of representation at the end of the film market.
Nice, so congratulations! It's so good.
Thanks. Then I was in this fortunate position of being able to choose, and that was difficult because I had no idea. Again, I had no idea what I was doing. I kept asking advice from my mentors. So Dee McLaughlin, for example, here in Melbourne, has been super helpful, and Seth McKenna. There are a couple of people that I often go to for advice. And so with that advice, and then just, I feel like picking a sales agent it's a personal thing. Like it's a person that you might work with for years to come, hopefully, if it works out, if everything goes well. So I think it's important to just find someone that you gel with personally as well. And I picked James Donaldson of Blairwood Entertainment, and he's still representing my films now. So I'm talking to him tomorrow.
Amazing.
So it's, and for me it feels like yes, of course, it's a professional relationship first and foremost. But sometimes on our Zoom calls we talk about how we are, and like there's also this kind of like friendship.
I think that's really good, because I think we have to remember that we're I think a human relationship is great to, you want to be able to kind of have them around in the next 10 years, because then if you have that component of it's not just professional, but there is some form of care, I think you'll get way better outcomes out of that as well.
Yeah, definitely. And just thinking about how little actual money or financial satisfaction there is in this industry, particularly at my kind of independent level, that satisfaction has to come from somewhere. And surely the relationships that you build within your craft is very big part of that satisfaction.
Yeah. Has the money thing been a big conversation as part of kind of when you go to a sales agent or when you go to the film markets? Is like profitability of the film a big consideration for these people?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, yeah, I would say that at film markets, that's a very important component across anywhere in the industry, I think. And that's another thing that keeps changing a lot. And I haven't really been able to grasp a way of managing to get any mainstream funding yet. So I'm still on that path of finding mainstream funding. And how much my distributors will be able to make from my films probably at this point is not very much money.
Yeah.
And I guess it's that kind of career building where I'm hoping that, it will build enough so that I personally don't care about money. I just want to make films.
Yeah.
But I have that understanding that for anyone to distribute them, they have to see that there's some kind of financial outcome for them out of these films. So as a filmmaker, I hope to be able to be releasing material that speaks to people and brings people to watch it.
Yeah.
And people that will then contribute to the monetary awards that the distributor will make from the film, or others that have worked on releasing it. And yeah, I really hope that I can deliver in that as well as a filmmaker. I really believe in art, first and foremost. But I don't think the two have to exclude each other.
I agree. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What are the sort of stories that you like to make? So are you kind of, if someone did not know anything about you, have never seen any of your work, what would you describe as sort of the story that you like to tell?
So my films are quite wacky art house films. I think that's the genre.
Nice.
But then I'm not too bothered about genre otherwise. I'm not someone who loves horror or loves action.
Yeah, you don't want to just
romance.
be tied to that. It's
no.
Yeah, it's more the story behind it.
I just want to tell stories.
Yeah.
And for me, story first, genre second or third.
Yeah.
And I guess to date, my films have been sort of quite challenging, psychologically challenging, and or artistically challenging as well. And they often raise questions more than they answer them. And for me, I feel like that's my job as an artist, is to raise questions and bring conversation to the table. And it's not my job to answer anyone's questions, because that would be me being a teacher. I'm not a teacher. I'm a filmmaker. I'm an artist. And yeah, I believe that if I can make people think about something different to what they were thinking about before they saw my film, if they have some questions about it, if they want to talk to someone about it, if just in their head they keep thinking about it. A few people that have seen my films have said that they have dreams about them.
That's nice.
That they still think about the film several days after. And for me, that's
a win.
That feels like I've done my job. I've delivered something that has stayed with people.
Yeah.
So clearly it's had an emotional impact. And yeah, my films are emotionally charged, art house, wacky films.
And honestly, I think that's wonderful, because I think there are so many directors out there that probably want to make more art house films, but probably think that that's not as sellable to get distribution or to get sales agents. So I think you offer a wonderful perspective there. I mean, personally, I always thought that you make a horror if you want to, get like A24 or some big kind of company on board. And it's really hard if you want to be more artsy. So I personally would love to hear kind of what you have been finding when you're creating these stories that are meant to ask more questions rather than answer them. How are you delivering kind of that product to get distribution? Because I'm sure there are so many directors that want to make more art housey things, but might be a little afraid of putting in all that time to just be rejected at the end. I'm sure your experience would be very valuable to hear.
Yeah, and look, I still get rejected all the time as well. I have a little win here and there, but most of it is rejection, and I guess that's really a skill in itself. That I just have to. I don't enjoy it. No one enjoys being rejected. I'm not a masochist, but but I guess it's just something that I have to almost accept as a part of my career, that there will be a lot of rejection. And given that I do make these very art housey films, there's a lot of hesitation from distributors and exhibitors. And for example, one time someone called my work smart house, and that was very much supposed to be an offensive term.
Oh my gosh.
And not just to myself, it was supposed to be offensive to the audience. In this distributor's opinion, audiences just don't want smart films. And for me, that's like, wow.
Yeah.
That for me, that just feels such an insult.
Yeah, a little
to
dig
the audience,
there.
Because I think there are so many people out there that want to see controversial films, want to see challenging films, want to see stories that they haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Or want to see characters that they haven't seen before, and don't necessarily want something mass-produced that's easy to digest artistically, but they want something with a bit of a kick. And I am yet to really find the distributors that will fully take a risk on my work and push it forward, because I believe that there are a lot of people, even in that mainstream audience, that would enjoy it if only they had access to it.
Exactly. I think there's an audience for everything. I mean, there are people that love The Room, for example. What was meant to be a commercial failure ended up getting a very niche, passionate audience, but it needed to get to them in the first place. And I think every genre is sort of like that. But that reminds me a little bit about a question that I wanted to ask you, which was, you're half European, I'm European, and I know that art house is a very big thing in Europe. So did you kind of almost strategize your kind of distribution of the film based on location? Like, did you focus on a lot of European festivals in order to get that traction going, knowing that they had maybe a stronger appetite for that sort of film?
I tend to submit to all sorts of festivals all over the world.
Shotgun approach.
And and again, as a person, I feel like I'm just a citizen of the world. I think I was very lucky to travel very early on and be very comfortable almost anywhere in the world. I'm not scared of going to new places, and I'd like to think that my films can have a similar kind of life path and life journey where they get seen in many different destinations, and not just necessarily, this is for European market, that this is for Australian market. I don't think humans are that simple. I don't think we can be just categorized into a nationality or a gender or an age. Like, I think so many of us have so many layers and so many sides about ourselves that will tap into different things. And therefore, again, if I did that, I find that would be too restricting for me as an arts practitioner. But also, I think doing that, I would eliminate a lot of people that might really enjoy the film.
That's so true. Exactly. You might accidentally miss out on an audience that would love your film and could maybe pave the way for your filmmaking to make more films like that. Yeah, I love that. I'm going to use that in the future. It's like the thing from Shrek, you know, it's like we all have layers, just like onions.
Oh, I love being compared with Shrek. This has made my day.
Such a classic. But how can filmmakers better place their films for distribution then? So if you're saying kind of don't cut out any potential audiences, with the hundreds of thousands of festivals that seem to be out there and all the difficult film markets, how does one kind of best position themselves as a filmmaker when they have something that they've put their heart and soul into it? What do they do with that, in your opinion?
Oh, that is $1 million question that if I knew the answer to, I'm sure I would be much more successful than I am now.
Oh, well, it's all a journey. and to be honest, this is why I started this podcast, right? It's because everyone can take something from everyone, and everyone is at different stages, but you might have one little nugget that might add one little puzzle piece to someone else's puzzle. And likewise with you, you might take something from somewhere else. And I think that's where we can all grow together as filmmakers and creators.
Yeah. I guess like the only thing that I'm really learning is that no one really knows what they're doing in film industry. Everyone's guesstimating at every level all the time, from indie filmmakers to mainstream studios. Everyone's guesstimating, and there are no guarantees. And to be able to stay flexible in that, to be able to stay flexible in also changing your own practice is important. To be able to take in feedback is important, but then to still remain loyal to your core and loyal to the stories that you want to tell, and just work really hard. Just be the hardest worker that you know, and then surround yourself with other people that really care about their work as well.
Yeah.
And constantly ask for advice. I probably need to ask much more advice than I have been asking recently. Constantly just, and I think I would like to think that being vulnerable in that process is also helpful, and if I meet someone at these film markets that I go to that comes in with full guns and pretends to know exactly what they're doing, that's the person I'm going to run away from.
Yeah, that's right. The loudest person is usually not the one you'll learn the most from.
Yeah.
I've learned that over time as well. But I think the vulnerability side, I think that's really good, because that opens you up for curiosity, and curiosity leads to you asking questions. And actually, I think if you come with an approach of I'm going to be humble and want to learn more about the process or whatever it is, I think you'll be more receptive to getting the right tips and the wisdom that you need. But also I think you open yourself up to more opportunities, because you'll walk into a room and someone will go, you know, actually Saara seems really cool and she's not pretending to know it all. And so as a result, I'm going to vibe more with you, you know? Like I think that makes a big difference.
I'd hope so. Yeah, definitely.
Where can people find your work, Saara? What have you got coming up next? So we've spoken about distribution. Now you're distributing your film. So where can people find your work?
Yeah, so my first feature film, Innuendo, is very well available all across the world, really. If you're in Australia, New Zealand, you can find it through Umbrella Entertainment. Streaming these days. Initially, we had a small theatrical release for it, and it was on television as well. But now it's on various different streaming platforms. So that one's called Innuendo. And
I'll put it in the show notes. We'll put it in the notes.
I'm currently finding distribution for my second feature film, Westermark Effect, and The Lies We Tell Ourselves. That's only just been released this year. So my big hurdle currently is trying to deliver those films better to the audiences to be able to see. But you can generally find me on Instagram or Facebook. I'm very much across all the social media, and you can approach me very easily.
Amazing. Ask questions.
I like connecting with people.
Hell yeah. If you're listening to this, ask questions. I think that's honestly the biggest takeaway from me. In like distribution, honestly, I feel like a lot of the time it is just a shotgun at the wall and you just kind of see what sticks. But I think if you can go into a film market with an open mind and kind of go there kind of not knowing everything and knowing that you don't know it all, I think you'll be way better suited for the opportunities that await. So
Yeah.
thanks so much, Saara, for joining me on this one. I learned a lot about film distribution. So good. And we're going to be chatting to Saara again. And that topic is going to be super, super cool. We're going to be talking about creating original materials. So we'll see you in the next one with her sometime in the near future. Thank you, Saara.
Thank you.
Bye.